Okay, hello everybody. I'm Helen and I teach at the Dorothy Benson Senior Services Center. And today is part two, the second week of our pre-Columbian inspired pot. So last week I put together this animal and it's kind of looks like a possum, okay? And remember, the pre-Columbian art was basically um, anything in America, in the Americas. That means North America, Central, South America. Any kind of artwork that came that was done before Columbus got there. Okay, so this is the one that's based on the animal standing on four legs, and it has this um, like a the neck of the bottle or something. Okay, so I put together the animal and I made four legs. And the way I made this leg is I just made a cylinder and then I stuck like a dowel rod inside and I rolled it very carefully. Okay, I kind of rolled it like this very carefully and try to make it as even as possible. All right. Now, it's still kind of thick. So you'll see it's kind of thick right here. Let me see if this would help. Nope. Okay, it's still kind of thick. So what I did was take a fettling knife and I carved out the excess and do it very carefully. My clay, I made this like a couple of days ago, but because of the weather, it's still really soft and it just hasn't set up. It's just been too humid lately. So I'm going to kind of thin out the inside. And because the clay is still soft, it's kind of moving around on me. Okay. So I'm just going to take it out. All right. Now, let me see if this would help. It's still too dark. Okay. All right. So I've got it kind of carved out a little bit thinner. This is going to be the bottom of my feet right here. And this is where it's going to join. Okay, so I kind of need to have this about the same height. It's not quite the same height, all of these. Just trim it a little bit, get as close as I can. All right, now I'm going to put this part on later, but I need to flip this guy over and put the legs on. However, I've got that tail and the head, and those are going to get smushed. So let's see what I can do here. Let me move this. Okay. I'm going to see if I can do it this way. Okay. And see if this will support the weight here. I'm just going to see if this works. Because I've got these little delicate ears and the tail, yeah, this looks like it's going to work. Okay. So now I have to put the feet on. This still doesn't look like they're all the same height. Yeah, but I kind of want it this tall. Let me shade a little bit here because this guy is a little bit dry on this part. Oh, it looks like my tail wasn't on there very well. I'll have to do that. Okay. All right, I don't know if you can see this. I don't know why my computer's not doing too good. Okay. So make sure my tail is on there good. I need to make all these the same height. I'll cut off a little bit here. Now these pre-Columbian pots look like they're real complicated, but you know, if you break them down step by step, they're really not that hard. Because remember, the body is just two pinch pots, and I shaped it into like an oval. And then you just attach the head. Remember to make a pinhole so that as the clay shrinks, the air pressure inside is not going to break or crack your piece. Okay. All right. Now I need to figure out the placement. Hopefully this guy doesn't fall over. And probably going to put it like that. Okay, I just need to mark where I'm going to put his legs. Now, you don't want to put the legs like real close together like this because the whole thing's going to topple over. You need to kind of space it out. All right. Okay. So now I need to score, and it doesn't look like I have slip again. So we'll just have to wet this really good. And I'm actually going to score pretty deep. Once again, I'm using this Lizella clay, and it's super gritty and comes straight out of the earth. I think it's located southwest of Atlanta. I mean Macon, and it's the same clay that's used to make the red bricks on buildings. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is just make mushy clay. It's probably not even centered right. It's hard to tell. Okay. I'm scoring it really good. Now I'm going to wet this, and then I'm going to score this as much as I can. All right. So put the feet on, but I'm going to gently. This guy is pretty stiff, so I sort of can put some pressure on it. Okay, so I'm just going to wiggle it until I feel the suction going on. Yeah, okay. And after that, what I need to do is smooth this out. Straighten him out a little bit. And because I kind of made a dent here where I attached it, I'm just going to put the tiniest coil just to fill in that dent and give it extra support strength. Okay. So I'm just going to make a real tiny coil. I don't want to put too much on here because some of those pre-Columbian pots with the animals look like the legs are just kind of stuck on anyway. Okay. I am going to take a squeezed out sponge and kind of clean it. And the reason why it's a little bit hard to clean it once you get all the feet on here. So I'll just, don't get it too wet because it'll just disintegrate on you. And clean the tail. Okay, let's do the other ones and wet this again. When I turn this upright, I'm going to have to put a lump of clay in the center to support the weight because the legs are still soft and I don't want them to get smushed. Okay, once again, I'm jiggling a little bit to make sure. And when I turn it upright, it's probably going to be wobbly, and I could straighten that out later. So don't forget, this is just mud. Clay is just basically kind of like mud, um, but you can manipulate it pretty good. Okay, I need another little worm here. And once I get all the elements put together, I'm going to decide on um, probably an abstract design. I thought I'd paint a lot of baby possums on here, but I kind of wanted to look pre-Colombian, so I'm probably going to paint some abstract designs. And this clay is, this piece will be fired to cone 6. That means the clay is going to turn like the brick red you see in buildings. So um, I'm going to use almost the black underglaze and paint the designs on there. Okay, and I'll have to put like 3 coats of the underglaze. Okay, so I've got these 2 legs on. I got to do that one. Score this up real good. You don't want your legs to be solid chunks of clay. It'll just not dry out enough and it'll break in the kiln. And what makes things blow up in the kiln is not the air bubbles so much, it's the moisture in your clay. If you have thick pieces and they just have a hard time drying out completely. So to avoid any kind of blow ups, just don't make them more than 3/4 of an inch thick. Your pieces, any pieces, thin it out if you can. And the important thing in a classroom situation, because I don't know whose pieces are really thick or what the students have done, I have to candle it, which means I have to, at like 180 degrees Fahrenheit, I have to dry it out at that temperature for anywhere from 8 to 14 hours, depending on how thick the pieces look. So that's a long time to dry out clay pieces, but it's better than having the pieces blow up due to moisture and the shards break other people's work. Okay, and with kilns, you have to bring the temperature up slowly, a little bit at a time, especially hand-built stuff. You turn it up too fast, it's just not good. The clay is going to break and it just can't do that chemical reaction that quickly. And also, if you have a glaze kiln, if you have glazed stuff in the kiln, if you go too fast, the glaze hasn't had a chance to slowly melt and do its chemical reaction, so you might have unsatisfactory results there. So hopefully this guy is going to stand up without toppling over. I think I have his legs splayed out pretty good. Oops, that one's not too good. And remember to really squish it good right there so it sticks to the body. Okay. And a little bit of clay to fill in the gaps. Got a gap right here. Once this whole piece has kind of started to stiffen up, it's important to take a squeeze out sponge and keep smoothing out your piece. Okay, you want to get rid of as many lumps and bumps as possible, and you have to. It does take a long time, but the result is worth it. Okay, I have to turn this around because I can't see what I'm doing here. All right. Okay, while I had this animal, oops, while I have this animal upside down, I'm going to, I have a pinhole under its neck. So, because this is kind of like a small pinch pot, but I'm going to put two. And the reason why I'm going to put two is just in case water gets trapped in there, it'll drain better. It'll be able to drain if I have two holes because the air will go in one hole and the water will come out the other hole. Okay, now I'm just going to clean this up as best as I can. Okay, so I'm going to flip him over, but before I flip him over, I have to make a support. So I'm just going to take the same clay. You want to probably use this the clay. Some people will use, objects to support it, but I like to use the clay. Mainly because I don't need to be looking for an object that's the same height. Okay, so it's about that much. Take off the excess. Okay. Now you need to put a barrier, otherwise this clay is going to stick to the bottom of my animal. So I'm going to put a barrier, and this might not be enough to support this whole thing, but we'll try. Okay, now if I can flip this over, oops, very carefully, without dropping the whole thing. He's pretty heavy. Oops, okay, I probably just dropped it, yep. Okay, you kind of want the feet to touch because otherwise there's too much pressure on the belly. Okay, so I've got it like that, okay. And you want to wait until the legs stiffen up, but I need to kind of like position them. Splay it out a little bit. And this guy probably needs to go this way. Okay. All right. So you keep him like that until the legs can hold up the weight. Now this thing has this, what is this, a spout? The spout has to go on here, and I need it to fit, okay? But before I do that, I have to mark where it's going to go. And okay. So I marked where the spout is going to go. And once again, I'm going to wet it. I need to cut that out. Okay. So very carefully cut this out. Okay. So it wasn't that thick. Okay. Now I cannot work on the inside. I mean, if I made the hole bigger, I might be able to, or use a tool, but I guess I could use a tool to kind of smooth out that joint. It's hard to see what's going on inside here. You might have to do it by feel. I don't even know where the joint is. Okay. Now, at this point, let's say this spout opening was bigger. You can make a hole on its mouth, and then you can make a hole, when you first attached it, you could have made a hole so that the water pours out of its mouth, but we don't really have a handle here, so I guess I can still make a spout. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm going to, I wonder if the legs are too tall. Okay, we'll put this on first. All right. So this guy is going to have to fit here. I'm going to split it. He's a little bit stiff now. I'm going to wet the wherever this is. Actually, I'm going to squeeze out the sponge and kind of smooth out that opening a little bit on the inside. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to score it. Turn this down. I know. Okay. I'm scoring it pretty deep. You don't want just a thin surface score. You want to score it pretty good. I'm wetting the rim right here and going to score it pretty deep because I want it to make mud here because I don't have slip. I usually don't work with slip on a lot of things if I can manipulate that piece. Sometimes you need to use slip. Okay, so yeah, okay. So now I'm going to kind of move it if I can, okay? And I can feel the suction already. It's really sticking good. Okay. Now I will push this down so I got good adhesion. And if I can, I'm going to try to do it in here, kind of merge the two clay pieces together. If you have a chance, I think the Carlos Museum in Emory might have pre-Columbian. I think they do have pre-Columbian pottery. It's good to go see what an actual piece looks like, or of course, you can go online and look at those. But it's really cool to see them in person, and they're much bigger than this piece. All right, I am going to have to put a coil here because there's a big gap, a dent, and also this essentially reinforces the joint. Just make sure it's smushed on there real good. And you do have to be careful if you're pushing down, but my support should be holding and protecting the legs pretty good. Okay, this coil was a little bit wetter than I needed, so it's making it difficult. I should have attached this tail all the way to the body because I keep knocking it and it might eventually break off. Um, if you actually break something off and it's pretty dry, you can shred a little bit of toilet paper, mix it in with your slip, and use that to patch any cracks up. It works pretty good. It is kind of a little bit time consuming to um, mix that combination up first though. Okay, that sounded pretty good. All right. And I need to smooth this out best. Okay, I'll smooth it out right now, but I don't want to get it sopping wet because it'll dissolve the clay. So as it slowly dries, I can smooth it out more. And I've got a big dent here. Okay. So the squeezed out sponge kind of acts like sandpaper. Okay, you don't want the sand dried clay because the dust it creates is not good to breathe in. So you always want to quote sand when the clay is still wet, wet tissue, or leather hard, or even if it's basically bone dry, you can, depending on the clay, um, smooth it out with a squeezed out sponge. The B mix we use at Benson is pretty forgiving, so you can clean it even after it's bone dry. Okay, this whole thing is probably lopsided, but that's okay right now. So I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of smooth as much as possible. I think last time I had a cat face, and what I did was I redid the whole head, and the proportion wasn't right, and I turned it into a possum because that's actually what I originally wanted to do, was a possum-like animal. Okay. So right now it's kind of leaning to one side, but I can fix that later once the legs stiffen up by evening out the feet and the legs. Okay. Try to smooth it out as much as possible right now. So I'm showing you this, I'm making this in real time so you can see how easy it is, okay? And you can also see that, if you didn't like some part, or this, it just proportionally wasn't right, you can remove it and start over. It doesn't take that long. Not everything's going to come out just the way you want it the first time or even the second time. Just it goes faster the second and third time anyway. Okay, so now I'm just going to clean this up, and I thought I was going to texture it, like texture the tail and everything, but I'm just going to paint it with underglazes instead. But before I paint it with underglazes, I need to make sure everything is smoothed out really good. The feet are going to have to be straightened out, leveled out. It might be okay this way, but yeah, it might be okay. I'll have to see once we take that support off. Make sure I get rid of as much lumps and bumps as possible. Okay. Now, I also have to decide what kind of, um, um, I'm going to probably paint a geometric design. And I can sketch it out very lightly with a dull pencil. Okay, you don't want to carve into it that much. And then, like I said, you can paint it with underglaze, but you need 3 coats. Underglaze really needs 3 coats, okay? And then on this piece, I'm not even going to glaze it because I kind of want it to look like raw clay. I mean, unglazed clay. I think I like that. So it's not really a functional piece. I could have made a functional piece, and I could have made it functional by glazing it and glazing or just glazing the inside so it holds water. Um, if you get like something oily on the outside, if it's not glazed, it might actually seep into your clay depending on what temperature it was fired at. Probably stain it too. So if you actually want to use a piece, like for food, then you need to glaze it to protect the underglaze and also the clay body. Okay. Okay. So far, yeah. And then check all the proportions, see if you like it. Okay. I think I got it as smooth as possible, except for the back leg. The smoothing out process really takes a lot of time, and you just don't do it in one setting too. Okay, now I have to decide what kind of geometric design. Oops, it's still lumpy here. I'm going to paint. As it dries, some lumps and bumps will show up, so you have to keep smoothing it out. Okay. All right, let's see if I can find my pencil. I don't think I have it anymore. Okay, well, I'll just use the end of this brush because it's not that sharp. All right, so what I'm probably going to do, let me get my table back up here. And then I can't paint the underglaze right now because it's too wet and the underglaze would just slip right off of this thing. So, but I am going to kind of try out some design ideas. Okay. So the first thing is I actually say stuff like the clay, the piece will tell you what it wants. Okay. I'm probably going to put a dark band line around the neck and probably here too. So I'm just kind of lightly sketching this out. So the rim is going to be dark. It's probably going to turn out black. And then I can put geometric designs between this band and this band. I guess I need to make another line here. Okay. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The less perfect it is, the more character it has. Okay, so I've got, oops. I've got I'm going to paint a dark band on top there. Okay, I'm going to paint a dark band here and a dark band here. And then I think I'm just going to paint a band around his head. Yeah. So I'm kind of dividing up the space here. I'm going to paint a band, pretty thick band too, around his head. Actually, this is probably female if it's going to carry babies, right? Okay, so you can't part. Okay, I think you can sort of see I got a band going around its head, and maybe the eye. I think the eyes are going to be painted, and then the ears, and the tip of its nose. Okay, now I might put a geometric design on its head. I haven't decided yet. Okay, the tail needs some kind of. I'm probably going to paint diamonds on it or crosshatch. Okay, because the possum tails have that design, and then the feet definitely needs like um I'm probably going to paint like triangles here to represent they have big toes or claws or whatever, and then I get to play with the um, body part. I wonder if I could make something abstract that looks like possum babies. I don't even know what they look like. Probably like that. Okay. Let me test something out here. So I might make something that kind of looks like, I don't know if you can see that, like a like a triangle tiered up, and then probably maybe put a line here. So if I repeat this, it's going to look like just a graphic design. Oops. You know, you can always erase it if you got a mark somewhere. Okay, so I've got three of these triangle-like things. So that could be part of my design. Now, I just put a tail here, but maybe instead of doing that, I'll make the tail come out from the side maybe. So you can play around with different designs. If you don't want to sketch directly on clay, you can always, try it out on paper or cut out paper and try it. So not sure if you can see this very well, but I have, um, I might, okay, it's not going to look like baby possums, but yeah. And then I can always put dots here for feet, I guess. Yeah, that might be fun. Okay. So getting ideas, I'm going to leave that alone until it stiffens up, and then I'll paint the things I'm for sure about, and that's the band and the eyes and the nose and the tail probably and the toes and everything. And then I'll see if I still like it. You know what? I think I need to make a, yeah, that's what I need. Okay, it's not going to end up looking like possum babies, but that was the original inspiration. So I may just move the tail. So I made another triangle inside of that triangle. So this triangle thing is going to be dark. I think the tail needs to be moved back into the center as a line. Yeah, that's what needs to be done. So I will, when this starts to dry and I can put the underglaze on, I'll go ahead and paint the underglaze. And next week you'll be able to see what the thing looks like painted, okay? And you're not going to be able to, like I said, the underglaze is probably going to come out black and, or, or like a brownish black, but a very deep, dark black. And then the background is going to come out like brick red, okay? Now on a light colored clay, if you don't want that white background, you can also, paint the whole thing with underglaze, 3 coats, and then paint your design on top of that. Once again, 3 coats. And that'll work pretty good. Okay. So I still need to decide on the legs because right now they're just bare. And what I might do is the tail line, I might bring it down to the leg and then add some more graphic patterns. Okay. Okay, so anything hand built, because you have very thicknesses and things that stick out, you have to wrap it very tightly and let it dry extremely slowly. Um, Sometimes you might get condensation on your plastic and it might drip down on certain areas and soften it, wet it, and break it. So you might want to cover it with either a towel or paper towels, and then check on it, okay? Unwrap it and check on it and make sure things are drying slowly. This is going to it's going to be slow drying. Hopefully I'll have it done next week, depending on how the weather's doing. And that's it for today. And then next week I'll show you how to make another animal. Maybe we can even make it human. I'll see what inspires me. and we'll make the one that has the handle, the two spout like things and handle and spout. So this is more like a vase, and it's crooked right now, but I can straighten it out when I adjust the way the feet are sitting on the piece. Okay. All right. So we will see you next time, and it's not hard to make. It's easy to make. And what's going to pull it together is the graphic design that you paint on with Underglaze. Okay. All right. So we will see you next week.